morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show's being recorded for Sunday, April 21st, 2024. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes directly real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history. So for entertainment purposes only. Also, for those who need to reach me, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the book a session tab. Very straightforward from there. And we also have a platinum level membership available. You can find that on our YouTube homepage. There's a join button, or if you have trouble with that, on our website homepage, there's a YouTube membership button that will take you right to the membership joining page. So great to have everybody here today, this morning. And as always, we pull questions from our community board. My wife goes through all of them. I think this week we had somewhere between, I think around 450 questions, something of that nature. And then she goes through them and tries to cultivate a group that I answer for you here real time. We're now up to, I think, answering like 85 questions a show. It's making the shows longer. Happy to do it. But we'll continue to kind of do that here, and we'll answer as many questions as we can. On that note, let's get rolling ahead with today's show. Oh, you know what? My wife wanted to mention something very quickly, which I'll add in here. Yeah, if your questions are not answered on a particular week, you're welcome to put them in again on another week. My wife does try to get to all of them. And we just ask you don't ask very personal questions. Those are really for private readings. Really, it's the questions that will benefit the audience at large is, I think the most beneficial for these types of shows. And if you have any kind of detailed questions, make sure you include a name in there. That is, if you're asking about an individual in public or wherever it is in the world, we find that sometimes people don't include the name of the person they're asking about. So the names are always helpful. For me, first and last names always are like a key. They unlock a lot of information. So very good. All right. So with no further ado, let's get rolling on today's show. Question 85. With Iran's conflict with Israel now, how will the U.S. be affected? Gas prices pulled into war. Life is already tough enough with this additional conflict potentially impacting the U.S. even more. So, what I get on that is that there's going to be a lot of continuing back-end communications among a lot of the world's nations, world countries to keep Israel and Iran kind of at bay. It's almost like trying to keep two fighters out of the ring. There is going to be some ongoing conflict. I don't see this spiraling out to like a world war or anything of that nature, but I see a lot of very copious talks behind the scenes of really individuals and groups and leaders trying to keep these two at bay. I do see one other, I'm going to call it a minor conflict coming up between Iran and Israel, only because it looks like Iran is trying to, intervene in what's going on in Gaza. So Iran has a vested interest there, what's happening, and they're trying to create more conflict. So there's something coming up here, but I would say not to worry. I don't see this spiraling out into a large Middle East conflict. Okay. 84. Hi, Sterling and team. On last week's show, I thought I heard a voice say something right before you answered the question about the undiagnosed abdomen pain at about 58 minutes, 31 seconds in the show. Was this your guides or angels that were helping you answer the question? I don't recall that exact incident, but many times on these shows, if you watch these shows, you'll see either orbs flying through the video, or you actually hear voices. And I always say affectionately, my guides and angels like to showboat. They like to show they're around. So every once in a while, you'll see a little showboating, and I suspect that was one of the guides or angels stepping in. It even could have been a couple of them. So yeah, very common. 83 in the countdown. Will the anomaly off the coast of Africa spanning 2,000 miles with up to 80-foot waves strike the east coast of the U.S.? No, I don't see that happening, and I see it all dissipating. And in fact, my team's like maybe it already dissipated. Whatever occurred there looks like it was through a large underwater tectonic plate shift that caused that. And there's more coming. So I know it's an anomaly they're saying right now, but there's gonna be you'll see more of these in the future. But looks like that particular one already dissipated, and not a threat to the east coast of the U.S. 82, hi Sterling. My question is, will the present ruling party of Iran change? Is it the mullahs after sending drones to Israel? No, I read on this in the past, and my team has always said that the ruling party in Iran probably be there for at least another decade. I know it's not always what people want to hear, but it's going to be a good decade. Could be a little shorter at this point, because I remember I read on this a year or two ago, but many, many more years here. Consider 8 to 10 years before there's a big significant ruling party change in Iran. 81. Will a cure for autism be found? So many are suffering. Read on this before too, but CRISPR gene editing, they've already identified something like 36 to 40 genes that are related to autism. And that's the key there to unlocking what cures are coming up in the future. So yeah, that's all coming. And you can look for a cure. It's about a decade away, something of that nature, but it's coming, absolutely. 80. Hi, Sterling and team. I love Sundays with all of you. In 1974, three girls, Mary, it looks like Trelika, at 17, Lisa Wilson, 14, and Julie Mosley, 9, disappeared at a shopping mall in Fort Worth, Texas, right before Christmas. The older girl's car was found at a mall, but there has never been a trace of them since. Can your team tell us what happened to them? What I get on that, this is always difficult to see these things. I see that they were abducted, and it looks like sexual predator, and unfortunately, it does not look like they're alive at this point. When did this occur? 1974. Yeah, very unfortunate incident, but it looks like it was a sexual predator that the police are already aware of. So and it looks like the remains of these girls will be found. It looks like it's related to a house, like backyard of a house. So all this is coming up within the span of a couple of years here. I'm very sorry to see all this, but I want to send a lot of love, light out to the families of these three women, Mary Trelika, Lisa Wilson, and Julie Mosley. Um, the truth will be uncovered. You got a couple of years here to go, but the predator, it looks like that predator is still alive. So there'll be justice coming. 79. Hi, Sterling and team. Will there ever be a genetic drug to treat multiple sclerosis or MS, or yet a better cure? There will, and I hate to harp on this all the time, but CRISPR gene editing around MS, they're already doing a lot of work on that. You can Google that. I think at last count, my team was saying there's hundreds of genes have been identified around MS, so like something like 200 genes, and that is what's going to be the leverage point to a cure. Again, dramatic progress here within a decade. I know it sounds redundant, but there's it's a breakthrough with gene editing, Cas9, CRISPR technology, and by the way, there's now like 1,000 companies working on CRISPR technology, not just one. But for MS, whoever asked this question, it looks like hundreds of genes, now at least 200 genes, identify the cause it. That then leads to what a cure looks like. 78. Are there any plants that can raise our frequency? I would tell you no particular plant, all plants, all trees. They're all living entities that communicate amongst themselves, and energetically, they all provide loving vibrations based on their appearance and even the sense they give off. So it's almost like, there's no one plant or tree, all of them, and they all have different degrees of maturity, if you will. I talk about old oak trees versus young flowers. All plants give off loving vibrational energy, but it's a good question. 77. Love to Sterling and teams here on Earth and the other side. Sterling, you have explained to us that our human friends and family on the other side may send signs such as coins or feathers to get our attention and show they're with us. Are Our animal friends also capable of sending signs. For example, a dog in our family passed away at a young age of 2 months old. Her nickname was Hummingbird because she dipped her little nose into coffee cups, glasses of water, etc., whenever possible. Since she died, we have seen many images of hummingbirds almost daily. The actual hummers have not returned yet. Is she comforting her grieving family, or are we just noticing the images more? Actually, no, these are direct signs from that puppy, that animal. All animals are here to teach us lessons, but absolutely in this case, that's a very distinctive way. Yes, animals absolutely can send us messages from the other side in physical forms, and you can see this in terms of maybe you might find, for example, their hair around in a very unusual place where you knew that they've been gone for 4 or 5 years. How could their hair be there? Or you smell them, or you hear the tinkling of their collar, or you see images like a hummingbird. Yeah, absolutely. Animals can manipulate signs from the other side to help us through our grief, and let us know they're still around. 76. Let's see here. Hello, Sterling and team. My question is about the creature called Mothman. Many years ago, he was seen at the collapse of a bridge. I know the Baltimore Bridge was not paranormal, and that's correct. But it brought up the question in my mind: who and what is Mothman? Is it paranormal, benevolent, or not? Mothman actually is, I've read on this before, is a form of extraterrestrial. And they're not really around the Earth that much anymore, but they're a form of extraterrestrial being benevolent, no harm. But you look at hundreds of species in recent century here that have visited Earth in terms of extraterrestrials. Mothman was one of the species. They don't spend a lot of time coming down to Earth, but that was an extraterrestrial. 75. Hello, Sterling and team. Do young children remember their previous lives? When my daughter was about 2 years old with a limited vocabulary, she said to me out of the blue, "You know that you're not my real mommy. You're my other mommy." When I asked her where her real mommy was, she said, "My real mommy crashed her car into a hotel and my brother broke his arm." Needless to say, I was blown away. Was this made up? No, it's actually 100% real. Now, your daughter was, yeah, 2 years old. Very common, remember, for children up to the age of about 6, 7, 8 years old, are very connected with the other side. And especially younger children and older souls in particular can absolutely remember past lives that connect to the other side. Very, very common life experience. So in this case, it's a 100% true story. And it looks like your daughter was referencing her most recent lifetime, which is interesting. Of course, she came down back here. 74. Andrew Warren is running for state attorney in Florida after being removed from office by DeSantis for refusing to enforce abortion laws. Do you see Andrew Warren winning back his job? I get complete yes. I get he'll absolutely be reelected again. So it's almost kind of righting the wrong. Looks like he'll be reelected. And it looks like a lot of the voters, are going to step in and kind of right the wrong, so to speak. 73. Hello, Sterling and team. You have spoken before regarding animals being from the angelic realm and how there are different levels when we cross over. Does this mean we can only spend time with them during our life review and then we are separated because they are above us in the higher level? Can we call for them to come down anytime? Will they stay near us on the other side? Yeah, so all animals can move through all dimensions on the other side very easily. And yes, they can come down to spend time with you. I talk about our unique soul families on the other side, thousands of members and different groups of your subset of your soul family come down. Animals get connected with soul families as well. Not part of the soul family, but get very connected, attached. So if you've had animals through a number of lifetimes, or even an animal that reincarnated several times in a lifetime for you, yeah, absolutely. They'll come around and energetically they hear you, you hear your thoughts, they'll come spend time around you. It's all part of the environment of love on the other side. 72. Hi, guys. We know when you need help or just want to communicate, we only need to ask our guides, etc. Do we need to do this out loud or can we hear them? Can they hear what we're thinking? So, intention, pure intention is the most important aspect of how we communicate with the other side. Now, when I when I work with people, kind of training, and I try to get them to develop the skill of communicating with their angelic team, their guides and angels, I always recommend they talk out loud, they speak out loud. That creates greater intention when you're learning. When you develop expertise, it's a lot easier, let's say, to develop all your clairs. Your clairs are working very easily. Thought is fine. It's really the intention. But I would just say the only difference there is when you're learning a new skill, I find talking out loud puts more intention, more effort into it. And it's almost because you also hear yourself saying it. So it gives you a little bit of a push in the right direction. 71. Hello, Sterling and team. This question is about 45 son Baron. I'm very curious as to what's going on with him and what his future holds. Will Baron turn into a bad, grifting human like his father, or will he develop into his own very different person and maybe become a force for good in the world? I do see he's going to be a very different person in the world than his father. And it looks to me like not only be a different person, but really get into a leadership position of really trying to right some wrongs here. So it looks like his son Baron, remember, we all choose our parents and choose our children, but there's a counterbalance. There's a yin and yang effect going on here in that family, in 45's family. And I do see that Baron is going to be really a strong leader as he grows up. And I don't think he's going to be heavy into politics, but I do see him being a very strong leader. 70. Hello, Sterling and team. Clarence Thomas has been absent from the court, and so far no one has explained why he has been absent. Is it possible that he is ill and will have to step down from the bench? I don't get that he's ill and having to step down from the bench, to say, for that reason. What I get is some sort of a medical procedure, and hate to be, too graphic, but it looks like a colonoscopy or something like that. But some sort of a medical procedure that he had to undergo as part of a diagnostic or something going on here. That's what my team's telling me. 69. Thank you, Sterling and team. A new Boeing whistleblower says the 787 Dreamliner airplane could break apart in flight due to improper construction. Is the 787 Dreamliner at risk of catastrophic failure? For entertainment purposes only, I've read on this several times before, believe it or not, and we actually had a hot off the press on our community board this week. In January of this year, I read on a lot of Boeing's problems and the ongoing problems I saw with Boeing. Yeah, this is a difficult subject to get into because there are safety concerns around all the aircraft. Will it bring down a lot of aircraft? Don't see it bringing them down, but a lot of troubles. Yeah, so this is again, a difficult subject. I do feel like they got another catastrophic failure that's going to happen, but it's months out. But for the most part, it looks like they're going to start to get this under control. But a lot of continuing problems and retrofits, and a lot of lost revenue for all the airlines having to ground aircraft. So it's not a good situation. In fact, I think it was in the press that United Airlines wrote off, I think, $200 million recently due to all the problems with the 737 MAX 9s that they couldn't fly, all the canceled flight. So it's going to impact the industry quite a bit. But yeah, there are ongoing safety problems here. Not a lot of catastrophic failure, but a lot of major inconvenience and retrofit. 68. Hello, Sterling and team. After working in diverse roles for large corporations for 2 decades, I have observed a growing trend of corporate greed, especially in recent years. The intense pressure from leadership to prioritize profits over everything else, even under the guise of serving patients, has left me increasingly disheartened and frustrated. The unrealistic, unreasonable expectations set for employees and the constant threat of job loss have become unbearable. I find myself questioning this corporate culture, and is it so pervasive across all fields, or is it unique to my industry? Well, no, this is pervasive across all corporate culture. I can tell you firsthand, because a lot of corporate culture is profit driven, profit for the shareholders, value for shareholders. So it's always about cost cutting and yeah. So there's a corporate greed culture across societies around the world. So it's not just unique to your environment. I can tell you that. I understand you're getting frustrated with it. I do see as we go years out here, we're going through a large reset from the year 2020 to 2050. I know that sounds like a long time. That's 3 decades, but you'll start to see a big shift in everything in society around more human centric. How do we complement? How do we raise the standard of living for everybody? So that's all coming. Okay, 67, the countdown. Hello, Sterling. I'm wondering if our loved ones and spirit guides can present objects for us to find. I find hearts and heart shapes almost on a daily basis. Is it a loved one or a spirit guide by chance? This actually is a female mother figure from the other side trying to reach out to you. So, yes, loved ones can leave objects around. That's one of the things you can learn on the other side is how to physically create objects in this dimension from the other dimension. So sometimes even coins you find have been created from the other dimension. I know it sounds supernatural, but they actually can. And they're also, my teams also remind me, sometimes they can take physical objects that are already in this dimension, then move them around. So yeah, that's all very true. In your case, the hearts you're finding, you said you're finding hearts, right? Heart shapes, yeah. This is a mother energy trying to connect with you and validate that she's fine, she loves you. 66, Sterling. After the solar eclipse, I've been seeing more flashes or shadows in my house. They're low to the ground when I see them. I am a clairvoyant, a transmitter, and physical empath. I have seen things most of my life, but these seem to be coming every day in the early mornings around 2 to 4 a.m. What I am really seeing and why more frequent said, what am I really seeing and why more frequent since the eclipse? I think they may be my pets that have passed away in my home. Yeah, what I get on this is that yes, these are actually animals that passed away. Some of these things you're seeing. However, I don't get any kind of increase since the eclipse. This is something that was a progression for you and for a lot of people. The eclipse was certainly a bonding event with a lot of people. This a group shared experience. But for you, this is a progression of the skills you inherently have. And it looks like they're saying, yeah, these are animals for you. By the way, my team's also reminding me to tell you, it looks like part of your life path will be as an animal communicator. So whoever asks this question, take a look into that. Looks like this is part of your life path. 65, hi Sterling and team. You previously touched on artificial intelligence and its impact on the workforce. One estimate predicts 40% of jobs will be taken away over artificial intelligence or by artificial intelligence in the coming years. Do you see a basic guaranteed income being given to U.S. citizens? No, I don't see any basic income. I see an enhancement to like Social Security, those things. But for younger individuals, the workforce don't see a guaranteed basic income. What I do see, though, is an enhancement in job training around new types of jobs that'll work with artificial intelligence. Remember, artificial intelligence is a tremendous tool. Won't get into a lot of details right now, but it actually is going to reshape a lot of industries. So a lot of mundane tasks that people had to do, AI will take over, but there'll be new jobs and utilizing AI as a tool. So I do see a lot of retraining, funding going into retraining, helping create a new workforce, but not necessarily a guaranteed basic income for younger individuals. No, but then they're also telling me enhancement to Social Security later on in life, but not necessarily driven by AI. So hopefully that helps. 64, my daughter has always had deep connections to animals. Last week, she went to the Azores during blue whale migration season, hoping to see one. My daughter did, in fact, see a blue whale, and it was so friendly it came close to the boat. Days after the event, she was still marveling at the whale sighting. Did the friendliness of the blue whale have anything to do with my daughter being on the boat and having such a deep connection to animals? Yes, absolutely. So when it's part of our life path, we actually give out kind of a beam of light and energy. Animals, remember, part of the angelic realm, very sensitive to all forms of energy. Looks like this blue whale absolutely resonated with your daughter. So this is really the almost a superhuman, supernatural connection that we have that love creates. And also, your daughter is going to be an animal communicator. Here we got another animal communicator, and so this is wonderful. That's actually an endorsement, a validation for your daughter about what's going on with her life. 63. Hello, Sterling and team. I was wondering if there will ever be a cure for lymphedema. Yes, already big breakthroughs coming, but here you got another decade, about 10 years from now, where like all the medications are created with gene editing, go through trials, testing, and then they get into a wide distribution phase where companies can manufacture them. So yeah, within 10 years here, it's phenomenal. Remember, CRISPR is like a new set of Lego blocks for humanity. It's like discovering it's a big breakthrough like the discovery of DNA years ago. So all these things are going to really now move humanity in a much greater state of handling all these diseases. But it's a good solid decade for a lot of them to be public. 62, high sterling and spiritual team. In the past, you mentioned weight loss treatment for obese individuals will be developed. But what about women suffering from menopause? Will there be a treatment that addresses weight gain, hot flashes, hair loss due to the loss of estrogen in their future? This is all coming within 5 years. So there's already big progress being made, but my team's saying within 5 years, substantial medications available that will help with this. And again, not a doctor, but I think this obviously has a lot to do with hormone imbalance, a lot of it. There's a stress and anxiety component, some hair loss and all that I get. But things like alopecia are, again, not a doctor, but my team's just saying within 5 years, we're going to have the start of medications that be very helpful for that. 61, Sterling, do hybrids marry regular people, Homo sapiens sapien? Can they have children? Do hybrids have distinguishing marks that indicate who they are? Yes, hybrids do in fact and can marry Homo sapiens sapiens have. They don't have any distinguishing marks. They know who they are. Not be able to tell that they're hybrids. That's all part of the mechanism, if you will, of working with extraterrestrials. The goal is not to be able to see as anything different than Homo sapiens sapiens. So even if you do DNA tests on them, we actually don't have DNA tests right now sophisticated enough to be able to discern that. But individuals do know they're hybrids and they do marry. And remember, they're all down here to help humanity. There's no malintent from any hybrids. It's meant to bring down more advanced knowledge in a number of areas: world peace, science, energy, health, education. Yeah, but you won't be able to tell that they are, but they do marry, they do integrate into normal families. Yes. 60, much love, Sterling and team. I know you've talked about Mars being previously inhabited, but has there been life on other planets, other solar systems like Jupiter and Saturn? My team has said that there hasn't really been any life occupying. I think you're asking about Mars, you're asking about Jupiter and Saturn. They have not really no life there. A lot of extraterrestrial visits and some bases, nobody living there per se. But there are many other planets and other galaxies, other solar systems where there are the equivalent of Homo sapiens sapiens living. And this is going to come out. Science is already aware of some very specific planets and some other solar systems that have the same characteristics as Earth. So anyway, to this question, not people living on Jupiter or Saturn, no, in the past. 59, hello, Sterling and team. I've always wondered if there will ever be meds for animals that don't cause cancer, such as rabies, right down to fleas, as rabies, right down to fleas. Okay. Yeah, the same medications being developed for humanity will actually cross over into animals. So the same medications, the same things are being learned around cancer treatments, all the different variants of cancer. I know like large dogs, for example, can get bone cancer. It's very common. We've had some pets that have had got bone cancer, but it looks like a lot of breakthroughs coming for humans around human science is going to then move over into animals. Absolutely, and it's all happening within years here. 58. Hello, Sterling. My ears start to ring when I go into my living room. It has been like this since last October. What is happening? I get whoever asked this question, there's like a barometric pressure change somehow within your house. And I know they sometimes measure barometric pressure like in millibars or whatnot. And I know it may sound kind of strange, but there's something going on there. You can actually have someone come in and run some tests. And so there's some atmospheric things happening in the house there. It's not attributable to anything supernatural or anything like that. They're talking about your ear ringing. But my team's saying it has something to do with like barometric pressure. 57. Thank you, Sterling and team, for this opportunity. On March 25th, shortly before 6 a.m. after the lunar eclipse, I stepped outside my house and saw swirling, pulsating, diffuse energy like a mist just above my neighbor's lawn. It was still fairly dark. Okay, it was still and fairly dark. There was no single light source, and it did not seem to hover in the sky. I captured some of it in a video clip. I have never seen anything like it before. What did I see? This appears to be a spiritual energy of some animals that lived in that area. So this is not, it's not human spiritual energy, human based, but looks like animals. Very interesting. Yeah, that occurs every once in a while, depending on what's going on in that environment. It's very true. Okay, 56 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. How much and how is technology affecting our young children? Is creating a new way of thinking. So technology is not really the problem inherently. It's the way technology is being used or unlimited access to some forms of technology like social media. I'll tell you that everything used in moderation is a benefit. Everything used in excess is a problem. So it's really, it's an effect. Like a lot of things, a lot of individuals are growing up through multiple generations. It's always something you have to deal with there. But in this case, technology is not the problem. It's access to it, the way it's being used. So that's what's going to start changing. And by the way, there are some problems with social media platforms out there that are not regulating the content that younger children are seeing. That's true. But what I see is a movement here towards managing access to technology and the way it's being used. So it has to be dealt with, but it's not, we're going to overcome it. It's not going to be a problem that's going to be long term in terms of an effect on children or young people. I think that's what they're asking about, young children. Yeah. 55. I've been diligently working for years to get my projects produced in the entertainment industry, but it seems like this is a horrible time to be in the field. Will things change for the better, and will there ever be a time when productions won't have to rely on big studios for financing and distribution? Yeah, interestingly enough, this is a time to start using generative AI, and that's all the technology that AI that's available on AI to generate content. So it's like being able to generate facial images, animation, visual effects. So there's a lot of cost savings going to be going using generative AI. So whoever asked this question, actually now's the time to involve yourself into a lot of training around new techniques, new technologies. But given within another year to 2 years here, it'd be tremendous demand for content for streaming platforms. So be prepared for the uptake and a lot of demand for content. Yeah, you won't have to rely, whoever asked this question, there's going to be much better ways to generate and distribute content, great content, not having to rely on a major studio. What's interesting is that the major studios will be tremendous buyers also for content. So get yourself in a position right now, a little bit of a shifting phase in the industry, but train yourself. Take this opportunity to get as much training as you can on the new AI or generative AI tools that are out there. 54. Hi, Sterling. How much should we encourage or push our children to succeed in school? Will they find their own path if we are hands off? Well, children do need to be pushed to learn the discipline of learning. So it's like understanding how to effectively go after learning a new skill. It takes diligence, devotion to task, kind of learning those principles of how you learn. As children get older, I think it's always a good idea to allow them to find their own path. So allow them to, experiment, you actually get access to a variety of different types of education. All that's very, very important. But yeah, I think in earlier years, it's important to guide them around. Here's how you kind of learn a subject. Here's how you go after diligently, step by step. So it's like learning a technique for learning. And then as you go on, then you allow them to expand into what it is that feeds their heart. 53. I live in a 100-year-old home in San Pedro area of Los Angeles. Over the last 10 years, I've experienced a wide range of psychic activity. I have engaged with a number of psychics and ghost hunters. They claim I live in an area unusually high in paranormal activity. Several individuals have indicated there is even a portal located inside my home. Can your guide share any insights? What's going on in my environment? No portal in your house. There are very large portals somewhere around Los Angeles. However, not in your house. And it looks like that area, a lot of people lost their lives in that area. So that would suggest some of the paranormal activity. They're not stuck. Spirits are not stuck there, but if a lot of individuals, let's say, lost their lives in that area, they'll come back to visit at some sort of a level of comfort. But yeah, no portal, and it's all benevolent, and you should be able to clear the house. I always say, use a little sage. Sage is a form of aromatherapy, but it really does help lighten the load and, ask the individuals to move on, that they're not serving any purpose there. Ask them to move into love and light. But again, no portal in your house there. 52, hello, Sterling and team. My 5-year-old grandson has lived with me for 2 years. Last night at bedtime, he was talking about the small circles flying around the room and asking me if I saw them. What was this? He was seeing orbs related to your family members and pets. So these are actually directly related to you, but they were coming around. Now your son is 5 years old. Here again, young children have great access to the other side. So he was seeing orbs related to your family members and the family's pets. 51, Sterling, can you and your team discuss the men in black? Who are they? Are they government or aliens, extraterrestrials, or a combination? And what is their meaning? Well, it is true. They refer to men in black. There is a group within the government that's still trying to manage the access and information to a lot of extraterrestrial activity. The world is not ready for it, and so sometimes when there's a crossover event, somebody's not intended to see an extraterrestrial activity. There are men in black there that come, I guess some people call them menacing because they're trying to scare off or ward off anybody from talking about it. They'll have less of an effect on society within a few years here as disclosure occurs worldwide. But it is true. Some of them are hybrid. I think they're asking whether they're extraterrestrial. Some other hybrid individuals, so that's part of their mission. Most of them are Homo sapiens sapien, they're human. 50. Let's see here. Sterling, how many lifetimes did you have? Do you intend on coming back once you cross over? I lost count at several thousand lifetimes. So I've actually lost count, but I probably will come back again. And it probably will come back with my wife. I've done many lifetimes with my wife. We always kid around with each other. But I will probably do many more lifetimes and with my wife. 49. Hi, Sterling and team. You mentioned that hybrid children are sometimes adopted into regular families without disclosure. What happens if these children become curious about their birth parents, say, take a DNA test like Ancestry.com or 23andMe? Do the results show up with two human parents or are they inconclusive? So, talked about this earlier. DNA testing right now is not sophisticated enough to detect hybrids. So the DNA testing that's out there right now, they look like Homo sapiens sapien. But there's deep in the DNA structure of the individual other elements that allow hybrids to communicate at a higher level with extraterrestrials. It's cross communication. They come down with extra levels of skill and bandwidth, if you will. What I'll call mental bandwidth to be able to do what they need to do down here around world peace, energy, health and science, education. But you won't be able to tell using a DNA test. And I think that was essentially what the question was, right? Yeah. 48. For almost 70 years, I have been berated for being too sensitive. When I learned of the incident in Sydney, Australia at the mall, I felt like it happened to me and I wept. I asked why I always go through this pain. And for the first time, I heard that I'm a light worker who helps carry the pain to transmute it to make it easier on the victims. I broke out in chills. Is this actually the reason, or have I gone completely off the deep end? And it says here, a viewer, I guess, in the question, my wife made a note, recommended the Empath Survival Guide by Judith Orloff, MD. Okay. Well, you are in fact a light worker. You're an empath. You're not actually destined to carry their energy, but as an empath, you're a very sophisticated, high level empath, and so you do have to manage that empath gift. That is learning how to kind of open up the shutters or close the shutters, so to speak, on that gift. So it's very possible that whoever recommended this book, the Empath Survival Guide, that maybe don't know anything about that book, but I'm being told here that it's not your job to carry the pain of others, but it's your job to be able to understand that pain, to be able to, as you work with others, really the empath gift, to be able to understand things that are unspoken and be able to get to the root of a problem faster. So helping humanity get to a root cause of a problem. 47. Will the school voucher program ever end in North Carolina so that the money can go back to the public schools? Also, was a future for school vouchers in the US? I don't see the school vouchers going away in North Carolina. Looks like it's going to be around for many years. And I do see school vouchers continuing even a little broader way in the US across the nation, because it looks like it'll enable people to go to private schools if they want to or something of that nature. So that's going to be around for many years. I do not see the program going away. 46. So many people seem to have a deep spiritual connection to animals and pets. I don't. Please understand, I would never stand for cruelty to animals. However, I don't want an animal in my house. I don't want to sit with a cat in my lap, and I really do not want to pet my neighbor's slobbery greyhound. What happened to me? Is this going to deduct points in my life review? No, it doesn't deduct points in your life review, but you're actually down here to learn compassion and love for everything, including animals. Remember, animals come down with unconditional love. So there's something about you building self-love, understanding, and then how to work with others. This is, it's interesting. Animals are part of your life path. That is to learn how to love them and learn how to come from a place of self-love. It's really all about understanding unconditional love. That's what that animal experience is for you. 45. Hello, Sterling and team. Texas Governor Greg Abbott recently announced that they started construction of a border military base as part of the Operation Lone Star Border Security Initiative to house 1,800 Texas National Guard personnel. How much longer might Operation Lone Star last? I do see it moving forward, but looks like it gets stopped around mid-2025 into the next presidential term. So looks like it's going to aggressively keep moving forward here until mid-2025. 44. Hi, Sterling. Is it true that having a cat living with you in your house keeps away pranks or spirits? I personally feel very safe living in my apartment with my cat. Remember, all animals sense the other side very, very well. That's why you'll see animals stare at the corner of a ceiling or something, and that's usually it's a loved one or a spirit that's there. So animals are very sensitive, and yes, cats are somewhat frisky. If there are pranks or spirits around, they'll notice them right away. They'll alert you to it, and they can be annoying to pranks or spirits. So in that respect, cats do help with pranks or spirits, but dogs in that sense can too. Or if you have other types of animals, you have a giraffe or a donkey or an elephant, they're all very sensitive to the other side and all have a way of kind of keeping pranks or spirits at bay. 43. There are lots of stories of U.S. presence meeting with extraterrestrials, or at least being briefed by our military on them. Have any of our presidents actually met with ETs? And if so, have they come from both political parties? Yes, there's examples throughout history where presidents from both political parties have met with extraterrestrials. Very true. It was done in a way to try to help guide presidencies, help give them some sort of markers as to technology coming, ways to ensure world peace, warnings about things happening. Yeah, but extraterrestrial groups have met with presidents from both political parties. Absolutely. 42. What do you see for the future of pain management? Will opioids finally be replaced by something more effective and without the addiction problems? Yeah, within here another 8 to 10 years, we'll have pain management that will work on certain memory, brain locations here. So there's something going on here with pain management and it's not as addictive. But here again, there's some sort of a medication coming, gene editing derived, that works on a neurological function in the brain that then helps control pain management. That's wonderful. So it's almost like if you have pain, depending on what kind of pain you have, let's say internal pain, muscle pain, leg pain, bone pain. But looks like there'll be medications within 8 to 10 years here that they'll be able to prescribe that neurologically will affect those pain centers in the brain. It's interesting. Yeah, it's all coming. Okay, 41, the countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. I know that you have said that trickster spirits are harmless and that if you tell them to leave, they will. I had a dark, low vibrational entity attach itself during my spiritual awakening as I was learning to use the pendulum, as have many others. No matter how many times I told or asked it to leave, it wouldn't. I even asked my guides and angels to assist. The entities have tried to cause havoc and suffering in my life. Things have gotten much better, but they won't leave completely. Can you speak to this and to others who may feel they have similar experiences? Why does this happen despite being a healthy, normal, high vibrational person? Is this part of our life path blueprint? So, attachments really are very rare, almost never happen. However, what I do see is you can attract low vibrational energy. And I know this person said that they're have high vibrational energy. In your case, whoever asked this question, this looks like a family member that's trying to get in touch with you. It does not, where you're seeing havoc is being caused by the spirit that's around you. It actually is coming generally from you centrally. This is interesting. A lot of people will think they have an attachment. That attachment's causing havoc in my life. It usually causes a person to have to take a step back and say, what is it? What's the fear component I'm carrying with me? Many times it comes from things that have happened years and years ago that causes, say, I call it a trigger. So whoever is in this case, whoever asked the question, looks like a family member that's trying to connect with you, and almost in an apologetic way. And if it appears to be a man here, but I don't see anything that's trying to cause havoc in your life. Yeah, it's interesting. So a couple of things going on here, but there's a fear component where we're asked this question, and this family member trying to come around you almost in an apologetic way. And it says, I'm sure this could all be tied together. 40. Hi, Sterling and team. I just heard that the stock market in Copenhagen caught on fire. Was this intentional? No, I don't get it was intentional. I get this was a human factor, human mistake. Could be construction or renovation or something. This is like a human error, not of malintent. No. 39, gerrymandering has made it difficult for voters to oust anti-abortion legislators. Will there be federal legislation to undo this problem for voters? I see a complete overhauling of the whole gerrymandering process as we get on to mid to late 2025. So it's all going to be looked at by the federal government. I know it's a lot of state-led gerrymandering, but it looks like federal guidelines coming out here. I remember years and years down the road, we're actually going to get to a popular vote. So that's going to make things a lot easier as well. 38, hello, Sterling and team. I am being ridiculed by family for choosing to be a Reiki master and a homeopathic product developer. Is this something that I have to go through before I prove to them that I'm worthy and not such an outcast? Well, your life lesson right now is to stand in your truth, right? Stand in love in your truth. That means you're controlling your personal power. So it's not about your other family members. The very fact that you feel like an outcast, that lies within you. So wonderful that you're moving forward with healing, Reiki master, homeopathic remedies. Remember, the life lesson you're going through right now is how to stand in your truth and manage your personal power. 37, Sterling and team. I have schizophrenia. My mom is my caregiver. My question is, are there going to be any more resources for caregivers the next few years, programs or benefits? I know it can be really hard to be a caregiver when there aren't a lot of resources. Here again, I see like as we get into 2025, you're going to see more resources for a lot of social programs, but that's because the corporate minimum tax of 15%, that's 15%, in the US is going to go into effect. So that's getting a lot of corporations that have not paid any taxes. The largest corporations in the world have not paid any income tax, but that 15% corporate minimum tax rate is going to generate a lot of revenue in the system. And that in turn will supply caregivers, a lot of social programs coming up. That's all coming very, very soon here. 36. Greetings, Sterling and Company. Last week, there were reports about a 2,000-mile storm in southern Atlantic Ocean that appeared to come off of Antarctica. It was a huge anomaly that caused flooding in South Africa. It was a color black, which is not even part of the scale. After much ado, NASA finally reported it. It was a huge whirlpool. It disappeared like it arrived. I know where my question is, what was it? So this is actually a compendium to the question earlier in the show. Maybe that's why it was included. But this is like what created it. Again, I saw here, this is a massive tectonic plate shift under the ocean is what I saw. And so they start in the ocean or start around Antarctica. But yeah, a little bit more of a dovetail to the earlier question. 35, good morning, Sterling and team. Last year on the island of Maui, we experienced many wildfires, one of which destroyed our beloved town of Lahaina. About 100 people were killed and thousands were displaced. What is to become of this? At present, there are still a few thousand people living in hotels and vacation rentals, and the land in Lahaina is currently being cleared. Will we see that town rebuilt, and will it be safe to live there? You know, I see it completely rebuilt within like 4 to 5 years here, completely rebuilt with new types of tourism developed. So it's interesting. I know a lot of people go to that region for its beauty, but new types of tourism. I'm picking up something with like sky travels. I'm not sure what this is all about. It's interesting. New types of tourism and new types of green economy growing up in that area. So it looks like completely restored in 4 to 5 years here, and then new types of tourism bringing in revenue. So I do see it's like a rebirth for Lahaina. Congratulations to them. 34, hello, Sterling and team. Do you ever see us stripping away U.S. citizenship from any citizen actively working against our democracy and will with the help of other countries? You know, what I get on that is that individuals that are convicted of being spies, I do see citizenship being revoked. But in a larger sense, I don't see a lot of people that were covertly working with other countries, even if it comes out. It looks like there's a threshold level there of whether they're a spy or not. So I don't see a lot of citizenships being revoked, although, you know, one might conclude that they should be. But my team's saying it's that threshold of whether they're deemed a spy or not. If they're a spy, then citizenship would get revoked. 33, hi, Sterling and team. Montana is a red state with Democratic, I guess, Senator John Tester as the incumbent senator facing a Republican, Tim Sheehy. Do you see John Tester holding on to his seat? Yes, I believe John Tester is reelected. Yes. 30, is that his name, John Tester? Yes. 32, hi, Sterling and team. Is there any truth in the legends of fairies and leprechauns and other such beings? Yes, absolutely. These are all elementals. They are very regional in focus. I've read on this before, but fairies, leprechauns, they're all part of what's called the elemental spiritual realm. And I think a lot of individuals refer to them as land spirits. They're very regionally focused. 31, where I live in Colorado, dog owners are reporting that on favorite walks after short distances, the dogs will stop dead in their tracks, turn the owners around, and head home. It's all over the area, so it isn't any one trail. Also, my son is doing this. Why are they doing this? I get this is connected to a respiratory outbreak that occurred a year ago in Colorado. I don't know what this is, like 2023. So this is a real, this is not a supernatural occurrence. This is a real physical occurrence. And, you know, my team had said that the respiratory problem that occurred was an outgrowth of the pandemic. So some sort of a crossover with animals. But again, not supernatural here. It looks like a respiratory artifact left over from whatever was going around last year, something like that. 30, Sterling, can you see an invention or extraterrestrial associated solution for the worldwide forever chemical pollution? If so, when? Yes, many advanced forms of algae being developed that will help clean up the world's oceans over decades. So the algae is going to be developed with extraterrestrial help here and then start to clean up the world's oceans. And then there's new technology coming that will actually make normal, types of plastics degradable. So yeah, this technology is all coming. Within a few years here, we're going to see all this technology launched and it will start to have a good effect. 29. Hello, Sterling and team. Will AI be adapted in the educational system soon to assist teachers in identifying a student's most beneficial learning mode, visual, audio, reading, etc., and help teachers develop individual learning plans for students? Yes, absolutely. This is coming, and we've talked about this many times. That's one of the beauties of AI. You be able to, through very simple inputs to an artificial intelligence engine, then come up with a very customized lesson plan and content even that will then allow that child to most effectively learn. Absolutely. That's one of the ways that artificial intelligence uses a wonderful tool. 28 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. My grandson is a severe hemophiliac. He has been on IV clotting factors every other day since a baby and now takes a new subcutaneous injection in his abdomen monthly. Do you see a future cure for hemophilia and other blood disorders? I do. Looks like there's two different forms of hemophiliac. Is that what it is? He's a hemophilia. Two different forms, like an A and a B. Looks like both forms will be addressed within a few years here. Again, I see testing going on right now, identifying the right genes. But whoever asked this question, it looks like both forms of hemophilia, being a hemophiliac and not an expert, not a doctor, will be addressed. Yes. 27. Hello, Sterling and team. I used to live in Mount Saint Hilaire, which is on the south shore of Montreal. The towns surrounding the mountain have shown the highest number of UFO sightings in Quebec. Ufologists organizations have claimed Mount Saint Hilaire to be the central hub of all UFO observations in southern Quebec. What do you see? Yeah, in Quebec, in this particular area, that particular mountainous range was called Mount Saint Hilaire. Absolutely is a hotspot for UFO activity, but it has been for like 100 million years, like a long time. So it is. Now there are many hotspots around the world, but around Quebec, looks like that is absolutely a hotspot. Yes. 26. Oh, my team's also saying because there's underground bases there too. So that's part of why it's a hotspot. 26, appreciation for your insight on so many world events. Would you please let us know what to expect in Cuba? Right now, there are reduced rations, limited electric power, almost no medicine, very limited gas with a 500% surcharge. There are protests happening in large cities with violence and death. Unfortunately, I do see like another revolution coming around Cuba, but for the better. So if you look at, I guess the last big revolution was like in the 1950s, and that caused kind of what's happening right now in today's Cuba. Looks like another revolution or uprising coming, but this is now going to turn things for the better. So it'll take a few years for this to happen, but I do see Cuba making a turn for the better, and I do see countries like the U.S. getting very actively involved within a couple of years here of helping Cuba. Not only helping Cuban as people, but it's also helping Cuba from a strategic standpoint, its location to the U.S., that kind of a thing. So a bit of an upheaval, a bit of an uprising coming for Cuba. Be a little dangerous for a while, but then it looks like it's for the better. It then turns around and actually becomes more democratic. 25. Hello, Sterling and his wonderful team. Do you see any significant events occurring in South Australia anytime soon? I see a large number of weather-related events for South Australia. And is that basically the Melbourne area? I'm just going from memory here. I don't have a map in front of me, but it looks like a lot of weather events, like weather extremes, very hot weather and flooding. So not sure I see many earthquakes around Melbourne right now, but a lot of extreme weather events, a lot of very hot weather, and then a lot of very cold weather and flooding. So, yeah, it'll be quite a ride. 24, will extraterrestrial technology be applied to help reduce or eliminate the plastic and microplastics in the environment? Yes, I think we touched on this. New forms of advanced algae and new technology to degrade current types of plastics within a couple of years here. Yes. Okay, 23 in the countdown. I saw on the news this morning that the former Prime Minister of Great Britain is endorsing 45 for president. I don't remember ever seeing this happen before. Last week, David Cameron from Great Britain was at Mar-a-Lago. What is up with Great Britain getting involved with US politics? I get this as part of a far-right marginalized group that wants to somehow demonstrate some sort of power alignment with a far-right radicalism. Was it Liz Truss? Was that her name? The one that was in power for like 30 or 45 days? But I think maybe that's what they're referring to the former Prime Minister of Great Britain. So that's what I'm talking about Liz Truss. I'm going from memory here. But yeah, it looks like these are marginalized far-right radical groups. So that's why they're doing it. You know, they won't succeed worldwide in turning around culture and society, but it's a threat to all countries right now. So each country is going to have to work through it. But that's why I see they're kind of reaching out and endorsing 45. 22, do ETs wear clothing and shoes? Is their body temperature similar to humans? Actually, they actually wear very thin membrane spacesuits. Sometimes they give you a translucent green or blue color. That's normally what they wear. Their body temperatures are normally very cold. Well, it depends on the species. The mantis beings are actually very warm. The tall Nordics, Pleiadians, have very cold body temperature. But it's from the clothing, a very fine membrane, call them spacesuits. They give them a translucent color. 21. Hello, Sterling and team. There are so many theories about forest people, Bigfoot. My question is, are they ancient humans, animals, or blended extraterrestrials? Yeah, we touched on this before. What they call Sasquatch or Bigfoot, these are extraterrestrial beings, species, that are actually shapeshifters, and they shapeshift into a Bigfoot appearance so that they kind of get undetected, although, of course, it causes more havoc when people see them. But they're here mining resources on Earth. 20. Hi, Sterling. When I was a child, I went to the beach with my best friend. I was asleep in the sun and awoke with a start, and immediately knew that I had to go in the water to save my friend. I found her caught in a riptide, and she told me she couldn't get to shore. I found myself caught too, and the waves were so big, we were certain we would drown. A woman appeared in the water next to us and tried to help us, and eventually she waved to the lifeguard to save us, which they did. The woman was nowhere to be found afterwards. I am now 54 years old and still wonder who was that woman and why was I told to save my friend when I clearly wasn't able to swim or to save her. You know, this was a birth angel that came down, one of your birth angels that came down to help you. Absolutely. So this is a very common occurrence for birth angels to come down at a time, and that's why they never found her afterwards. 19, hello, Sterling and team. My son joined the military at 18 after 9/11 happened, wanting to serve his country. He served years and was deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan 3 times. Thank God he made it home. He left the military and was offered a job with contractors, and the money offered was too hard to pass up. On August 31st, I was at home and I suddenly had this overwhelming sadness come over me when I began to hurt all over my body like I had been hit by a truck. My son had already gone back to Iraq to work for not even a month. The next day, they called me. My son had been electrocuted while showering, and they were unable to revive him. To this day, I know that wasn't true. We believe they killed my son. Will these contractors ever be exposed for their corruptness and be held accountable for all the bad things they do? So, whoever asked this question, when I pick up, your son was not electrocuted. He was actually on a mission. And the mission was somewhat was covert, and it was even kind of a mission that let's say the US government does not want to acknowledge. So I understand the feeling of corruptness. I think they refer to these sometimes as black ops operations, but this is a contractor. This is a mission, and they couldn't actually reveal any of the details of the mission. So I want you to know that your son died admirably, doing what he loved, but is not, it was the mission that was the cause of the death. If you're asking whether these other like vendor groups will ever see justice, more of what they do and how they're being contracted is coming out in public. I see it as in a larger sense, these groups will be made public and what they're doing, and then a lot of these operations will be then, put by the wayside. I want to send you a lot of love and light. Your son loves you to death. I just hear that. Tell my mom I love her to death, my family. And I think there's some animals I'm supposed to acknowledge too. I don't know if he had a dog or something, but I'm supposed to acknowledge his animals or something here. So sending love and light to your family, and your son wants you to know how much he loves all of you. He actually just said, "Don't worry about me, Mom. Don't worry about me. I'm okay." 18. Will our amazing Nevada Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen be reelected? Yeah, I believe she'll be reelected. Don't follow this a lot, but I'm not sure if she actually stood up to stop the impeachment of like Mayorkas here just recently. So yeah, but it looks like she'll be reelected. 17. Hi, Sterling and team. You mentioned on your show how many ancient deities were actually ETs. I was curious if the blue skin god Krishna existed. He is believed by millions of Hindus worldwide as an avatar of God. I was curious if he was a highly evolved ET come to Earth to teach humanity, or an ascended master like Buddha and Jesus. So this was a form of ascended master, but it's interesting that even extraterrestrials can form that function. I do see that this particular, what do they call him, Krishna, was an extraterrestrial. So yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things this extraterrestrial did or demonstrated that looked superhuman. And so there's definitely an extraterrestrial alignment here along with an ascended master. Remember, there's sometimes going to be emerging of ascended masters and extraterrestrials in some cases throughout history. It comes across very strongly as extraterrestrial to me. 16. I am 74 years old now and wonder if I have found and completed my life purpose, or I have yet to discover and start my life purpose. I am certain I am not the only senior here who has this question. I am relieved to hear you say that your guides say we do not complete our life purpose. We do complete our life purpose before we die. Since I'm getting older, I wonder if I've already done it or yet to do whatever it is. Well, first, you never get off your life path. So, a lot of people join up the two concepts, your life purpose, your life path. Kind of one and the same in many aspects. So you never get off your life path. Now, a lot of times people, remember I talk about as you move through your life path, if free will affects your life path and your purpose by speed, scale, and scope of what you achieve here. So are you affecting one person, 100 people, 1,000, 1 million, 10 million people? So you never get off your life path. Whoever asked this question, I feel that I'm going to ask you to lean in to connecting with more people, because it looks like part of your beauty is connecting with people, making them feel joy. That is part of your life purpose. And it looks like you have a teacher healer component to your life path. Whenever I see somebody has the experience in their life, being able to make people feel better, that very much starts to align with a teacher healer life path. If individuals tell you their life story, that's always a guarantee you're on a teacher healer life path. But for this individual, I see you're doing, fairly well in your life path, but lean in a little bit more here. I know you're 74. Looks like you'll be around a long while longer here too, much longer, but all good. 15, will our regular lives be disrupted whenever the extraterrestrials decide to let everyone know they are among us? Is this something to be concerned about? No, not to be concerned about. It's all part of the Earth's history, the mapping out of the blueprint. It's all part of this time in history is when Full disclosure is going to happen. Remember, if you look back centuries and centuries, even thousands of years ago, extraterrestrials have been around the planet. Lots of evidence. They've been around. A lot of civilizations are coming out again, and nothing to be really overly concerned about. This will be a gradual indoctrination to who they are. You'll see a lot of hybrids first. Hybrids will have to help guide people into understanding what they're all about. 14, the issues of abortion choice and reproductive health are very contentious issues on Earth. How do extraterrestrials approach these challenges? What does the spiritual realm think about them? So, most all extraterrestrial species are highly evolved and understand the relationship between soul, spirit, well, soul and spirit are one and the same, and physical body or the vehicle that we travel around in, so to speak. So they're very highly evolved. They understand that. They do not get involved in having to call out reproductive rights. They inherently just take care of it. Highly evolved. They don't stop anybody from taking personal decisions. So they're highly evolved in that area, and they really understand the nature of soul and humanity. You know what's interesting about this is that a lot of people get very connected around. Well, I won't go down the road of all that, but reproductive rights are something that extraterrestrials really allow everybody to handle on their own, and they understand the nature of soul, spirit. And when souls come down, there's always a timing. And pregnancies that don't make it, for example, full term, those souls go right back to family. And there's always a life lesson for the soul, for humanity that's here, family. So it's kind of a larger discussion, but yeah, they're highly evolved. 13, high sterling. If all souls originated at the same time, why are there 8 billion people on Earth now and just 1 million in the 1850s? If all illnesses are solved, climate change is addressed, women's rights, civil rights, and human rights are accepted, etc., what will we come to Earth to learn if all problems are solved? Well, first off, all souls are created at the same time. There's trillions and trillions of souls. Yes, not all souls incarnate at the same time. They don't all come down to Earth at the same time. That attributes to why only certain numbers of population on the Earth. Earth problems will never always completely be solved. There's always lessons to be learned here. So it's evolution. The evolution will go on for time and eternity. But all souls create at the same time. Not all souls come down to Earth. Some souls even go off to other galaxies. But even as populations increase here on Earth, there'll be other ways of handling humanity, underground cities, underwater cities. So it's, again, part of a larger discussion, but I think those are the salient points to kind of discuss here. 12, Sterling and team. My best friend's brother is incarcerated for a murder back when he was 21. He was on drugs and was abused by his stepfather at the age of 7. His name is Tony, and he is now at the Macomb, is it? Macomb, Macomb Correctional Facility in Michigan. He has been in custody or incarceration for over 30 years. Biden put in a law for these people to get a second chance since they were so young at the time. He keeps getting passed over for a second chance. Will he ever be released? Yes, I see him being released in the year 2026. Means that something starts up for him in 2025, some sort of a new review. Looks like he eventually gets a benefit of the program, whatever program he's under, by the year 2026. So congratulations on that. Okay, 11 in the countdown. Sterling, would you and your guides look at cures or at least treatments for long haul COVID? It has stolen my health, one organ at a time. Hang in there. Meanwhile, thank you. There are a lot of specialists looking at scientists, medical universities, research universities, looking at long haul COVID symptoms. There's many doctors now focusing on that area. There's new treatments coming, extra additives for people. I think sometimes, again, not a doctor, but they call it extra levels of zinc, or sometimes some types of monoclonal antibodies. But there is help coming for long haul COVID symptom sufferers. There's a lot of them. And big help over the next few years here coming, even insurance companies treating this as a separate, illness category. So all this is coming. And it looks like big, my team's saying some sort of a big release or announcement coming summer of this year, 2024, around long haul COVID symptoms and how they're going to be treated. So the start of like really good things happening here. They're saying summer of 2024 is a start of like new programs. Uh-huh. 10. Will dealing with technology ever get easier? It changes so fast, it's hard to keep up. Yeah, well, interesting enough, as artificial intelligence rolls out, the human interface, that is technology to human interface, will get dramatically easier. So it'll be like using Amazon Alexa on steroids. You'll actually be able to say anything you need to into the technology, it'll perform the task. So that's all coming. So actually, artificial intelligence is going to make the reliance on individuals having to learn new technology much less. So it's that human interface is going to be accelerated greatly. 9. Hello, Sterling and team. Back in 1999, my mother-in-law was in the hospital dying from liver and breast cancer. My wife and I told her the night before she passed away that we were having a baby. Fast forward about a month, I got up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water. In the living room, I saw a light blue orb and wasn't scared, but felt a warmth come over me. I said, "Hi, Mom." I smiled. It then slowly dissipated. Was this my mother-in-law letting us know that everything will be okay with our new child? Absolutely. It's actually your mother-in-law letting you know that she had the child's spirit with her or had visited with her, but it was a confirmation that she was okay, that she's got this under control. And that's wonderful. I see these kind of messages happening all the time with families. That's a wonderful validation. 8. Hi, Sterling. How do hybrid children get into Homo sapien family? How do they find out they're hybrids? What happens when they get married and procreate? Does the baby have superpowers? No superpowers. Hybrids, most of the time, will get into Homo sapien families through the adoption process. There are other examples of where some people have been abducted, and there are ways that that people are impregnated and carry hybrid children. I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but it is part of a process. It happens in a very small percentage of cases. But DNA hybrids already know they're hybrid. They intuitively know that. They don't have superpowers, no, but they are here to help humanity. 7, my sister is very ill. I'm sorry, my sister is very ill in the hospital. And although she has been so careful in her healthful eating, diet, and exercise, throughout her life, she is suffering greatly. She was a child therapist in her career and dealt with the most horrible cases in her life. Many of these children, families, reached out to her and thanked her for what she did for them. As her heart is the most giving, loving I've ever known, could this illness be due to the negativity she's experienced in the past? If so, is there a way to rid her of this and help her now? So no direct connection to the people that she helped. It's all part of a life path blueprint for her. She laid out a lot of these. She's an older soul, laid out a lot of these health traumas, but they're not directly related to her taking in energy or helping a lot of people. No, that's not the case. The best way to help her now is to really provide protecting energy around her, send a lot of love and light, and actually getting into a healing modality. That means working with your guides and angels, asking supreme energy healers, ascend masters to come in. They will come in to help heal her, help calm her down. And it looks like she will work through this chapter in her life, I'm happy to tell you. 6, I'm always overcome with a sense of relaxation along with feeling soothed while watching your videos. Are you an energetic healer? Are you transmitting healing energy through your videos? Well, I always refer to myself as a big telephone. I'm bringing through energy and communications and people, individuals from the other side, from other dimensions. But the messaging that comes through is certainly healing in nature, calming in nature. So I transmit, I communicate that information. So I think when people connect with anything that aligns with the universe, that comes from a place of love or truth, they resonate with that. That, by the way, is a side note. Anytime you're dealing with anybody, maybe you're dealing with another psychic medium or anybody that's a spiritualist or even friends or family, If you're getting that warm, spiritual, beneficial feeling, that's a resonance to you that the universe is aligning with you. This is truth that you're receiving. So always look for that still small inner voice, the way you resonate with information. But for the person who asked the question, I think you're resonating just with the information coming through from the universe, from these very large extended teams of thousands of entities. 5, hello, Sterling and team. My question is, when visual artists, writers, musicians spend a lot of time creating a piece of art, could the themes, positive or negative, in their works possibly manifest into their lives as so much attention, energy is focused upon creating it day in and day out? If so, how can artists safely create? Well, it's true that whatever energy flows through you can affect your life. That's all part of learning grounding and balancing techniques. So that's a whole nother field of study. We won't go through all that now, but it is important for all of us to develop balancing and grounding techniques. Some people use meditation for that. Some people use, chakra cleansing, the aromatherapy. You do have to create a sense of balance, So when you're creating anything, you're connecting to that huge imagination channel that goes to the universe. So the analogy, if you're in life and if you're running through a muddy field, you get mud all over you. At some point, you kind of have to hose yourself off. So maybe, running through the muddy field, you create a new road. Well, that's great. You create a purpose, but now you kind of have to hose yourself off. So it doesn't mean you don't enter into allowing that energy to flow through you, but you don't necessarily want to own it. So find ways to balance yourself and ground yourself. Number 4 in the countdown, how much of climate change is caused by humans and how much is natural? About the majority, about 80% is caused directly by human interaction. And if you look at look at the upper atmosphere, I think there's 4 layers to the atmosphere. I think there's the mesosphere, which is like 35 miles and up. Then there's the stratosphere. I think the stratosphere is lower. I always forget. I'm just going from memory now. There's 4 levels of the upper atmosphere, but the 2 middle levels, the second level and the third level, kind of most affected by humanity because that affects parts of radiation coming from the sun, ozone layer. But yeah, about 80% of it is climate change being caused. So this is all going to be turned around. We haven't reached the point of no return, but this is all going to be turned around. But a good question, though. I like the question. Number 3 in the countdown. Thank you, Sterling and team. My question is, will we ever know who the major people are who are running this game on Earth? I've heard there are top people who run the government, religion, Hollywood, banking, finance, all the major columns. Will they be exposed as a dark team? Well, it's true that a lot of highly influential, highly wealthy people worldwide are certainly manipulating a lot of world governments and countries. It's all very true. It's a nature of humanity. In many cases, the individuals that are behind this will be made public. That's true. It's unfortunate. It's a factor of humanity that as a lot of wealth flows to a lot of people and they try to control. So a lot of this information will come out, but there are highly wealthy individuals working collaboratively across different countries around the world to try to create either better wealth for themselves or control over resources. I would say it's not anything to fear about. In the long run, democracies will prevail and there'll be a lot of controls to help guard citizens and help. But I would not worry about it, but there's a factor that it's true and that will be exposed in the public. And number 2 and number 1 in the countdown, I take notes before we start the show, so I'll read those back to you right now. Number 2, do you see anything coming up this week? More negotiations among many countries in an effort to ease strains and stabilize Iran and Israel, to allow Iran and Israel to save face, to keep stabilizing that. So still ongoing effort here to stabilize that because I do see more and more some threats happening there. I don't think it's going to spin out to a large Middle Eastern war, but there's a problem there still. New loan forgiveness programs coming from the Biden administration. Interesting. Expansion, some more loan forgiveness. New information released on Boeing aircraft safety. Start of 45's hush money trial. We know that's going to start this week coming up. And new sea life sightings in international waters could be very large, rare whales. So something about new sea life being observed like remote waters or something here that allow scientists to uncover new information about sea life. So that's wonderful. And number 1 in the countdown. Do you have anything your guides want to share? In life, make sure you are not in competition with others. Make sure you are running your own race and you will get to the desired finish line that is unique to your individual life path. We all have gifts. Make sure you acknowledge and respect the gifts you are given. And on that note, that concludes the show recording today for Sunday, April 21st, 2024. Again, if you need to reach me for sessions, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the Book a Session tab. I think there's dates available now in September, October, and November. It's all available online. We do have a platinum level membership now. You can get to the join page on the front page of our YouTube channel. Or if you have trouble there, you can go to our website homepage, and there's a YouTube membership button there. It will take you to the platinum membership level. It gives you full access to all archive videos. And we're also doing live streams on Sundays on a weekly basis. So that's all coming. So on that note, I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I'll see you all again very soon.